Oh, I've been listening to your whole rant, listening to your all crazy conspiracy theory stuff.
Oh yeah,
I'm ready for it.
It's conspiracy until it's true, right?
Well, what we found out is most everything that was conspiracy turned out to be true.
Right.
True anyway. So, yeah, what your today's conspiracy is tomorrow's truth. So.
Right, which is nuts. Hey, listen, I want to say for everyone that doesn't know who the show, this is my brother Shane, and he's here, and this is our show together. And if you haven't seen this show before, this is my brother and I. We talk about things that are important to us. And right now, because of the time it is, it's very much election and political stuff. And thank you for coming on, Shane. I know it was difficult for you today, man.
Oh, I actually had everything timed out pretty good, but life happens. And right when we were about to go live, I had to do something else. But I'm here now, and I'm ready to go down this road. Are you guys excited that for everybody, at least watching this from the United States, Tuesday is election day?
Tuesday is the day.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better perspective on this whole thing because I know there's a lot of people that are like super upset, and I would say that we're probably more divided today than we've been ever, maybe, or at least recently in recent times.
Perhaps.
But lately I've been listening to a book by Bill O'Reilly, right? One of his most recent books. And it's,
we got a Bill O'Reilly clip today we're going to talk about.
Okay, cool. It's, I think, Revealing the Presidents is the book, right? So I've been listening to this audiobook, and what it has done is remind me that no matter how bad it is today, there were times when it was just as bad in the past.
Right.
So the time is cyclical, and no matter what happens here, good chance that we'll get over it and we'll keep marching on. So don't get too down about what's going on today.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. And so this story, just to wrap it up, was about the election integrity. One thing I love that Crowder is doing, and I'll be watching it along with a couple other streams, is they're doing this big, it's called election integrity map. I'm not sure if I sent it to you. I did, right? Yeah, it's called,
I didn't see the map, but yeah, maybe I did.
Yeah, well, right now there's nothing on it, but it's called the election integrity map. And on here's what it looks like. On Tuesday, you're going to be able to go to every single state, zoom into every county, and actually see stories that are happening in real time around that. They have spent a lot of money and a lot of resources, and they've teamed up with a lot of people to make this thing happen. And I think it's a really special thing because I don't feel good about our election process. Let's say, whether Trump wins or not, I don't feel good about the election process. I don't feel good that there are username and passwords just sitting on the ground at a voting booth. That's insane. That anyone can log into these Dominion machines. Anyone that looks at that Fox News, the Fox News Dominion lawsuit, and aren't immediately terrified of the prospect that a company with that level of power sued that Fox for so much money that Fox deemed that it would be even more expensive to prove their opinions than to just settle out of court.
Right. Yeah. No, it feels like there's shenanigans going on. I'm trying to be very, very careful because I recognize that I'm in an echo chamber. I recognize that everything I look at is trying to put this information back to me and make me angry about it. And I do see, I'm seeing tweet, I guess, X post after X post of different little things that are election harming that seem to be cheating by the left. And initially I'm trying to fight back my emotion of like it making me angry. Like I'm initially outraged. I'm like, I hate cheating. How can you cheat? Right. I'm trying to remind myself that I am in an echo chamber and that hopefully this is not happening on a big widespread scale. Perhaps it's in small little places, and every election you have election cheating. Every election people are trying to cheat for their candidate. Okay. I got this is hilarious. I got mail-in ballots at my house, right? I got them from me and my wife, and I got it for 2 of my adult children.
Okay.
My initial thought was to open my kids' ballots and vote for them. My very initial thought was to get 2 more votes for my candidate. Now, it was momentary. It lasted about 3 seconds. And then I'm like, no, dummy. Of course you can't do that.
Yeah,
but it was my initial thought, right? Because that's how we get emotional about these things. So we do know what happens, but let's hope that it's not happening on a large enough scale to like impact the election. And my big fear is that we may not know. We may never know. We don't know how much of it occurred in 2020 and whether or not it truly impacted Trump being elected. And we don't know what's going to happen this election, which makes it scary. Now, here's the problem. If Trump does get elected, do you know what's going to happen? The left is going to say it was rigged for us.
Right.
So there needs to be a little bit of common sense left to this, but I am fearful in the same way that you are.
Right. Yeah, man. And you can see the clips are ready. Okay, right?
Yeah, I can see everything. Thank you. I can even hear it when you're queuing them up. It's nice.
Really? Let me ask you a question. What do you see right now? Do you see Gerald or do you see the playlist?
I see the playlist.
Okay, good. Because I see Gerald, which is freaking me out a little bit, but it's fine as long as you see it.
I see Jared, the third one down.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So we're gonna jump into these other topics. I'm not sure if Shane heard it on the live stream, but we're gonna be talking about the Bill Maher thing, where the election can drag on for a month.
Oh yeah.
Jake Paul endorsing Donald Trump is actually how much of a big deal that is. The super woke Avengers and their Down with Democracy campaign, which is very weird. RFK Jr., Mark Cuban, Bill O'Reilly, and of course Vance on Rogan. So we're gonna jump into the first story. I want to talk about the whole month-long thing. Apparently, they're telling us that the election results can take at least a month before we know who was elected for president of the United States, which is insane to me.
You know what I haven't heard is why. No, they keep saying these things, but I don't really hear any like legitimate argument as to why that's happening.
Right.
Like something that makes sense. Like why would it, because I saw this interview and if you want to play it for everybody, I guess we can talk about it.
So the election. Yeah, I can play it. Here we go. So this is from the Bill Maher show, which by the way, Bill Maher is not a Republican or a conservative. I think he's just sort of a reasonable guy, classic liberal. And so he asks questions and he has opinions that he tries not to waver on, which I appreciate. Even if we disagree on things, I really appreciate how it feels like he's very logical and balanced with his takes. Here we go.
So the election is Tuesday. What's your prediction on when we will have a winner? Give me a date, a prediction date in the office pool.
Well,
because it's not January 5th. I mean, it's not December 5th. It might even be January 5th.
No, it might be January 5th. That's the joke. So he misspoke there and he said, well, it's not January 5th. Well, it might actually be January 5th.
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's see. So by December the 11th, the governors have to render the certificates of ascertainment, which means it goes through the election process. The state settles everything that needs to be settled, and then the governors will deliver the certificates of ascertainment. And then on December 17th, the electors will meet, and then they will send in their votes. Now, this is a very arcane, antiquated system, as you know.
Yeah. Can I stop there for a second?
Mm-hmm.
What is happening? I know this is the way it works, but why are there so many? And this is why we need Elon Musk. I keep saying it. The DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency. Why are there so many layers to this process?
Well, that's to certify an election. So you got to remember, we are the United States of America, right? We are not. People think of us really as just one country, but really when we came around, we were a bunch of states held together by, a figurehead of a president.
Right.
So it's really the states have power. That's what's great about us. Each state wants to live, with liberty and have their own rules. That's kind of how we were put together. And
we're
now,
like 50 little countries in a union.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's supposed to be. So that's why when you see, and most people don't understand today why Roe versus Wade should be pushed back to the states. That's what the framers of the Constitution wanted it to be. We've become this amalgamous giant country now where state rights really don't mean much. But it is and this is how it was created. So the reason why it takes so long is, the governors have to all do something and all of the state representatives have to do something. Now he does make a joke if you go forward here where he's like basically saying, just do the popular vote. He made like a little ding at it there, which
jab.
if there was the popular vote, of course, nobody's votes in the middle of the country would matter. So that's why we have the Electoral College.
Okay.
To the archivist, to the national archivist, then who 1 week after that will send it in to the Congress.
Well,
so,
let's hope it goes that smoothly.
Yeah,
Jeez, that's so many. I know the whole like state thing, and I'm with you. I get it, but that seems like a lot of like redundant positions.
Well, there's a reason why the inauguration takes place. The new president doesn't come in until January, because it takes this time from the moment the election occurs to go through all these steps so that you can actually have the person officially become the president. Listen, you don't want to make anything a snap judge decision, don't you?
No, of
don't
course
you want to
not.
give things time to make sure you've got the right, everything's happened properly? I mean, you got somebody who's going to rule the country for the next 4 years. I mean, I'm willing to give them 2 months.
Well, 2 months.
Sure that it's right.
2 months to get it right so that they're installed correctly, but it shouldn't take a month for us to know if they won.
No, that's not what they're talking about here, though. They're not talking about.
They're talking about the process.
They're talking about the process. You should find out who won the night of the election.
100%.
Period.
Yeah,
everybody should be able to report and have elections that day. You should know.
And that's what we're getting at, though, is because of this process. He's explaining the process that even that process can be delayed, and we won't know until who won that night. And I'm sorry, if you recall, we didn't know who won in 2020 either that night.
You're right. Well, because Trump was winning when we all went to bed, and then we woke up and Biden was president.
Right.
That's what the problem people have is
right.
Well, what shenanigans happened overnight that changed all the
happened
numbers, right? Because in every prior election before that, we always knew before we went to bed.
Right.
That was the first election in recent memory where you woke up and it was somebody different. That's why people are so freaked out about it.
Right. And there's a couple live streams going on. I forgot who. I think it's Crowder and I think Chris film thread. There's a couple live streams going on that are they're gonna live stream until the election results are in. And I'm like, you guys might be here for like 6 weeks.
Yeah, no, it's true. Anthony Mark mentioned not in the year 2000, which he was right. Now that's the year that Bush and Gore fought over Florida. And that was one state. It was questionable voting because of the hanging chads, so it was hard to count the votes because they weren't sure who people voted for.
Mm-hmm.
And plus the absentee, because it was so close. In that case, you're right. That is a time when, the election may not be the next, that night. It's too close to call sometimes. It might take the morning, but on the evening of, in November in 2020, that was not the case. Trump, it looked like he was going to win for sure. And now all of a sudden, all these votes came in for Biden overnight, which makes you question whether that's real.
No, it feels sus. And then you see all these stories, passwords at voting stations, ballots never showing up to the right place, ballots being tossed in like camera. Like you can look at that footage of poll workers tossing ballots in boxes underneath the desks, just haphazardly. Like these are things, putting boards up over the windows so that the official election watchers can't actually see in the counting room. Insane behavior coming out of these swing states. And you're asking me to fully trust, based on all this evidence I have, you're asking me to fully trust this. I mean, nothing we can do about it now, but there is something that has to be done about this so that future elections don't feel so shitty.
Right. And honestly, if you go back throughout history, listen, we're just more prone to seeing it now. if we're being really honest, this shit's probably been happening the entire time in our country of all the years. I mean, there's been, people, doing all kinds of weird, shady things. Hey, listen, go in and vote for me, and I'll give you a pint of beer when you walk out. There's been all kinds of interesting ways that we've gotten people to vote for us, and there's probably been a lot of cheating that's happened over the years. We've had many presidential races that, there was, I can't remember who it was, but which one it was, but it's very famous. The papers all put out that one person won, and then it ended up actually being the other person, because papers had to be put out in advance, right? So,
like when Fox called Arizona, like when 1% of the people were done voting in 2020.
Yeah,
that was crazy. Like, why are you guys calling this already?
Yeah, I mean, well, sometimes they feel like the numbers are so. Yeah, but you're right. There's no reason to call it so early. It's because they're competing with other news stations. And that's what that more becomes about, as opposed to reality.
Anthony said it was 1948 Truman.
There you go. Truman. That's right. Truman ended up, and it was, I think, I can't remember who it was. Dewey. That's right. It was Dewey. Dewey was supposed to they thought Dewey was going to win, but Truman won. So there's all kinds of stuff that happens, but we're in an age now where everybody's communicating. We are in the most communicating age of all ages. There is more transparency. And what we're learning by looking through the glass is that there's bad things happening on the other side of it. Those bad things have always happened. We are just now seeing them.
Right.
So
I got to say, electronic voting has got to make it a lot easier too.
It does. I mean, well, they've showed it, it's easy to hack into these
Literally
things.
have these passwords like just sitting on the desk. Like,
well, it makes you wonder,
nuts.
Why does one side want paper ballots and the other side doesn't? Why wouldn't they both want it?
Why does one side want voter ID and one doesn't? Like we talked about this last week.
Yeah.
The voter ID thing is really insane. I don't know. There's no argument that makes any sense why you wouldn't require your ID to vote. There's not a single argument. And so you have to, come to the conclusion that they don't want voter ID so that it's easier to cheat.
Right.
Because there's no other conclusion. There's no other conclusion. You can't see the other side and be like, give me another conclusion. There is no other conclusion. That's crazy.
It's true.
All right, let's finish this clip and then we'll move on here.
That's the theory. That's why I say,
Yeah.
why don't we just have an election, and count the votes? So the Electoral College is filled with all of these booby traps where you've got a strategic bad faith actor like Donald Trump, and he will use each phase to try to revisit the result. I mean, is there anybody in the country who believes that he will accept an election that doesn't go his way?
I said that.
And this is where I want you to see that last part, because this is where it's funny. It almost feels like gaslighting. I know people use that term pretty interchangeably with a lot of random things like gaslighting or whatever. But I gotta say, it feels like gaslighting when you point out all these problems and flaws, and then you go, and this is where someone like Donald Trump, like, well, wait a minute, he's not a part of that system. He can use this bad faith actor. Donald Trump can use all these systems to make this even harder. No, he needs to. We need to be utilizing the checks and balances to make sure the election's fair. It's insane for you to assume otherwise.
Well, why wouldn't you want him at every step of the way? Now, I get he's probably not going to, if he loses, he's probably going to say it was rigged. But because that's, I mean, honestly, and if Harris loses, I think they might say it was rigged.
Sure.
And I think that there's some discussion that I heard that maybe they won't, if President Trump's elected, they won't certify him being elected.
Doesn't it require the vice president to certify?
No, the vice president's the tying vote. The vice president's part of it.
Yeah.
But you have, I mean, yeah. So they, what if they chose not to have a peaceful transfer of power?
Yeah.
So
and she's the tying vote, and she's also the person.
and she's also the person running for it or whatever.
What?
Yeah. No, the vice president is supposed to.
Seems like a conflict of interest.
Would be weird. It really would be. But the point is that like,
how is Kamala going to vote?
Right. Well, he's pushing here for not having the Electoral College and having the system where you have checks and balances. Hey, let's just leave it to the popular vote, and however it comes out, it comes out. Well, the problem is that if you did that, California and New York would vote for the president every year.
Right. And presidents wouldn't campaign anywhere but California and New York.
wouldn't care about anybody's issues but California's and New York's.
Right. So the entire country would be all about what California and New York care about. And I got to say, California's a dumpster fire and New York is almost as bad.
Oh, that's Anthony Mark had a good point here. Gore had to certify the election on January 6, 2001. Gore did eventually concede to Bush, and then he certified the election. Which,
good for him.
You know, listen, Gore was upset, and people feel like Gore got cheated, but it was so close. Is this race between Trump and Harris going to be close, or is somehow the machine manufacturing so many votes that it gets close? You know what I mean? Because polling is showing Trump being up.
Yeah. So every single poll, just so you guys know, every single poll, even the ones that are biased to Democrats, are showing Trump leading way ahead.
Well, he's leading, not necessarily way ahead, but the way it is like he is leading
way ahead if you account for the margin, though.
But way ahead if you account for the way he polled in 2016 and 2020.
Right.
So they were in 2016. In some cases, Hillary was up by 5 or 6%, 3 to 5%, and Trump won. And in 2020, some of the times when Biden was supposed to win by a lot, Trump actually won. So they're kind of looking at it like that. He is barely up on Harris on national polling. I think it's less than 1%. But because of the margin usually of people not wanting to say they voted for Trump or they're voting for Trump, you get kind of this weird one-sided affair. So it appears as if he's going to have a lot more votes, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's the election thing. Let us know what you guys think about this in the chat and in the comments. There was a super chat from John Burns. He says, I'm going to read it exactly how it's written. Brian, you were crushed last Saturday night.
Sunday night.
Crushed. In flag football, I'm assuming.
I'm going to thumb that up and give it a heart. Yeah.
In flag football?
Well, not flag football, but in
fantasy football, whatever.
No, it's true. But then again, John, I don't know how good that is considering Brian doesn't even look at his roster. So you probably played like 3 active players.
Yeah, I haven't seen.
Congrats, though, John. I've lost like the last 3 games by like 1 or 2 points. So I feel like I'm having a really rough season.
I am not racist against the Polish. I love the Polish people. I don't know what you're talking about, colonizer Jeebus. That's an interesting name. All right, another super chat from. And it's weird. It's not showing up on my system here, which is like my system just skipped him. But from John Burns, he says Nixon got credit for not contesting in 1960.
Yeah, I mean, they thought Nixon was going to win, I think, in 1960, but Kennedy ended up defeating him. It really affected, if you've seen all the historical stuff about it, Nixon was very, very surprised to lose. And then, he would eventually come back and be a very controversial president. Did you get the Unleashed memberships?
No, I'm getting them right now.
Okay.
I have to re-plug in this streaming thing. Yes, we did. We got 10 members from Kenneth the Rogue. 10 Pop Culture Unleashed memberships, my man. And after this show, after the public facing, we're going to do another almost hour, where we go into the members section and we get even weirder. So if you just
better, we talk to you more.
Yeah, if you just got those memberships, then don't leave after the show is over. Like, just roll on into the members section with us. And if you want to become a member and you feel left out because you didn't get one of those memberships, then hit the join button bottom left of the screen. And then Kenneth was like, you know what? 10's not enough. 5 more.
Woo!
So a total of 15 from Kenneth the Rogue. Oh, bro, this guy supports us probably more than anyone else does. We love you, man. You're awesome.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you guys are all awesome. And thank you, Ken. Also, Julian N. gifted 5 Pop Culture Unleashed memberships. Thank you, Julian. Appreciate that. And Jillian also said, welcome to cast member. Thank you so much, Jillian. And also Kenneth LaRoque, member for 14 months. Another milestone.
Dude, yeah, Jillian Ann coming through. I saw her on the Salty Nerd show. And now she's gifting on our show. Thank you, Jillian. I appreciate that, man.
Glad to have you. Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the next thing. You ready?
I'm ready.
I really appreciate that, Jillian. So glad you came over to hang out at this show. Okay, let's talk about the next topic. I thought it was interesting, and I really can't wait to get your opinion on this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I hate it. Okay, I don't even know what it is.
No, this one's special. As you all know, I love the first couple phases of Marvel. Shane and I have both applauded those two phases, that franchise, those 15 or so movies, as being an epic, beautiful weave story of the hero's journey. Finishing with Avengers Endgame. So it was when I saw this tweet by Bruce Banner, aka the Hulk, aka whatever his name is. I go Mark Ruffalo. I go, well, that's no surprise because Mark Ruffalo is a huge Kamala, a huge Democrat, huge liberal. He has really bad ideas. I'm not saying those bad ideas shouldn't be shared, even though he has a massive audience. I think they should be. I think bad ideas die in the sunlight, right? But he has really bad takes. This is the guy when that dude was killed by the kid during the riots. Ends up being a pedophile. He wrote like "Rest in Peace, JoJo." Oh. He just has really bad takes.
His timing isn't great. Yeah.
And his timing is atrocious. He was part of that like "We Are the World" thing during COVID. Just super tone deaf, insane celebrity nonsense. But the funniest thing about this was not that all the Avengers went to Diddy parties. Endorsed Kamala Harris. But is that their message that they all decided on? Well, I'm just going to show you.
Hi, you guys. Hi, Avengers.
Hi. Hey, Scarlett.
Jumping on the call.
Whoa. I think you mean assembling. I said assembling. Don, that's pretty good. No, they thought it was funny.
Scarlett, it is our pleasure to come together and to get the vote out this election. Come on.
Yeah, how can we be of service?
Well, how about we start with what our voting plans are going to be, who we're going to bring to the polls with us, that sort of thing.
I think Kamala Harris needs a catchphrase.
Ooh, yes, definitely a catchphrase.
How about this? I'm just off the top of my head. I can do this all day.
Shut up.
I hate it. Okay.
I mean, it's original, but...
What about something punchier like,
ooh, boom. You looking for this?
Iron Man 2, everybody loved it.
Okay, again, I think we're just trying to get out the vote.
Kamala forever.
That's better.
Okay, how about I'm down with democracy? It's just clean, it's simple.
Okay, I like that.
It's hard to argue with that.
Kamala Harris down with democracy.
Yeah, I'm just going to pause it there for a second. They're suggesting that's Kamala Harris, space, down with democracy.
Yeah. They don't realize what they're saying. That's exactly what she's trying to do. Down with democracy!
I appreciate you guys being honest. Let's finish this clip.
That's meme worthy right there.
It is.
Democracy.
Oh, yeah. I'm Kamala Harris, and I say, down with democracy.
Oh God! This did not go the way they thought.
They're getting memed so hard. The comments got turned off in the first 30 seconds of this being released, bro.
Nobody. Everyone's like, I guess we didn't think about
didn't think this one through. Nope.
I just keep replaying it.
I don't know if that sounds the way we want it to sound, though.
I think we just need. Can we get some production though?
Jarvis?
My name's not Jarvis, but whatever.
Oh yeah, that's right. Down with democracy.
Down with democracy.
Is that what we mean, though?
Yeah, together we're going to tear down democracy.
Will you stop playing heroic music under yourselves?
Wait, do they know what they're saying? I mean, are they?
No, now it just goes into like a Kamala Harris ad.
I'm Kamala Harris.
It's crazy. Like this.
What did she say?
I'm Kamala Harris and I'm down with democracy.
I'm in an echo chamber. I never get to see her ads.
Oh, you want to see it? Here.
Under yourselves.
This is her
I'm
ad.
Kamala Harris, and I am down with democracy. Did I sound enough like her on that one?
That was great. How many Golden Globes have you been nominated for? I'm just curious.
Tear down democracy.
Democracy.
I
Is that
love this
what?
part,
With
though.
democracy. Down with democracy.
Down with democracy.
Is that what we mean, though? Yeah, together we're gonna tear down democracy.
Dawn, the secret Republican, Dawn Cheadle.
Oh my God, that is so funny.
Wow,
It's
that's great.
so
I need
funny. Oh,
So what's funny is, as typical, it's tone deaf. It's hard to know, frankly speaking, guys, how many of these Hollywood people are truly believe what they're saying. Right? You got guys like Zachary
Levi,
who came out and basically committed like work suicide. He just committed to.
He did, yeah.
Supporting Trump. He essentially committed like entertainment suicide, right?
yeah, he's like, I'm voting for Trump because I support RFK. And,
Yeah,
to be fair,
he cleaned it up.
He did. Zach Levy has always been against big pharma. During COVID, he came out. Remember, we had that story where he's like, "Yo, why are you trusting these multi-trillionaire international global companies with your health? Like, do some research." And everyone's like, "Oh, you're a vaccine denier?" He goes, "I didn't say that. I'm saying the vaccine was tested, somehow made, invented, tested, and put out into the public in like 60 days. Someone needs to question this stuff."
Yeah. Well, and so my point is that all these people in Hollywood, they're going to want to keep working. And when somebody made the call to pull all the Avengers together to do this thing, who's going to say no?
Right.
Which one of these actors is going to be like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not supporting that candidate. They're just not going to. So you don't really know across Hollywood who's really supporting who until they go in and cast their ballot by themselves, or however they do it. That's when the rubber meets the road. So I don't tend to put much credence on all this BS with these people. Everybody's supporting Kamala Harris because support Kamala Harris or you're fired. It's essentially the way it looks.
Yeah, and you can go look it up. But the Zachary Levi video was actually pretty good a few weeks ago when he said, like, look, this is suicide, career suicide.
He
And
did.
and I wish that more Hollywood actors and celebrities and people that are in this industry would just understand that we need to stand up together because the industry is dying. And it's dying because everyone is too afraid to speak their mind, and it's being forced into this like progressive woke, little echo chamber that no one wants to operate with, no one wants to work with, and no one wants to watch, frankly. Very interesting the way he laid everything out on the table and said, this is where I'm going with. And you know what I love about that is him and Adam Baldwin are both hyper conservatives, and they happen to be on that show Chuck together. And then you look at the other actors that are on that show, and not a single one of those actors have endorsed Kamala Harris. And a couple of them went radio silent like 4 months ago. They're like, we're just going to wait for this election thing to blow over.
Why would you? Why would you
Right.
put your foot in it? Why would you bother to come out and support either one of these candidates when it's going to jack you up?
Right.
I just don't know why you would do it. Because let me tell you something. If Harris doesn't win and Trump does win, now you look like a dummy the other way.
Right.
I mean,
which probably like people like, I can never pronounce her name. It's like Yovini Stravagic or whatever. She needs to get a more like Western friendly name. But probably why she just completely shut off media. Yeah. People like Scott Bakula, you would think Scott Bakula would promote who he's voting for. He did not. You know why? He's smart.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like when it comes to working in Hollywood, like these are working actors. They want to continue working, which means they need to keep their mouth shut. But to Zach's credit, he said, look, more of us need to just open our mouth and express our opinions, because right now it's all completely dominated by one side, when in reality that's not how Hollywood is. And I love to hear that, because we've known people in Hollywood that share our views that shut their mouth.
Yeah, they won't admit it. And so, I mean, it's hugely brave what he's done. It's very hard to speak out when it could really impact you and it could cost you. Yeah. And so you got to say that, but we'll have to see what happens. These guys, what makes it so funny is, of course, they're trying to say, like a rapper is down with something. I'm down with whatever, right? I'm down with OPP, right? Now they're trying to be like down with democracy, but it sounds like down with democracy.
Yeah, he even says, right, I'm Kamala Harris, and I'm going to tear down democracy.
Which it sounds like they were trying to be a little tongue in cheek about it as well, But the reality is that that's the truth. Like literally, if you take a look and listen, like I said, I'm in an echo chamber, so you got to take me with an asterisk here a little bit. But everything that I experience is, removing First Amendment rights, removing free speech, taking away our liberties seems to be what the Democratic Party is trying to do. So I'm not down with that. And I'll be voting.
I am not down with democracy.
My vote is only a vote, though, so it really takes
vote.
a lot of people to do it.
Yeah, it's one vote. Unlike other people who has multiple votes. Now there's no ID required. I'm just gonna do like a domestic United States tour and just hit up every polling place from here to Washington or whatever.
I'm still trying to figure it out. Like when I go vote in person here, I'm in California.
Mm-hmm.
When I go vote in person, they ask me name and address, right? And then they're not going to ask me for my ID, but they do ask me name and address. Now, if I don't give them a name and address that's correct, what happens then?
Nothing, Shane.
No, I'm just saying I don't get to what I'm. So
no, that's the answer. Legitimately, you can give them an address to an Arby's that were closed down 10 years ago, and nothing matters.
Well, I'm saying they look it up on the voter roll. You have to be registered to vote. So there are things in place. Like when you go to vote, there's a whole list of names and addresses,
right,
in the voter roll. And then you give them the name and address, and they look you up, and they go, "Oh, boom, there you are."
Yeah, except for Mug Club did an investigation in 2000. I believe it was 2022, where they went and gathered all the voter rolls from Arizona, right? All the addresses, and they went and looked at all these addresses, and there was like 50 people registered on the same empty lot, and just coincidentally all voted for Biden.
That's what I'm saying. It's more detailed than that. So you have to. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's not just casual. You're not just going to go, you know what? I'm going to go vote twice. Like you got to know where you're at, what address you're using. You got to know that it's going to be there. There's a preparedness that has to occur. You have to be planning this out in advance.
Yeah.
There's a place where homeless people, I guess, register. They have homeless people registering to vote, and there's hundreds in Philadelphia, hundreds and hundreds of people who vote from the same place. So you're right. You could be like, I'm Jack Thomas. Oh, I'm Jack Thomas Jr. Hey, I'm Jimmy Jones. You could go in and just say you're a bunch of different people and keep voting for the same candidate. But it does take quite a bit of, planning. You're definitely planning this out.
I'm going to go in and then come back, put a fake mustache on, go back in, go out, take my hat off, go back in, go out, put a beanie on, go back in.
Well, you can go to different polling places. So that's the other thing is like, you don't just go to one polling place. There are multiple locations. You can go anywhere in your area and do it. You don't have to go to one specific polling place. So it could be done, but like I said, it's premeditated.
Right.
Not just anybody can go vote multiple times. You got to know who hasn't voted. It's deeper than this.
It is deeper than that. Well, let us know what you guys think about tearing down democracy.
That's great.
All right, we got some super chats here. Super chats. Thank you, boys and girls. I love you guys so much. Thank you for supporting us. It means the most. Michael Nemo, he says, and by the way, Michael Nemo, I know you have been here for a very long time, and you've been supporting us for a very long time. I want to make sure that I am highlighting that. Thank you so much. For $10, he says, I'm a liberal progressive, and that vid is problematic in that if celebs did this for the right, they would be at least canceled. I'm Kamala Harris, and I've never seen a Marvel movie ever.
I love that Michael, we're sitting here talking politics, and we're probably talking about the opposite side of what Michael's going to vote for, and that's fine because we think that you should vote for whoever it is that you want to vote for. Just be informed and choose what's right for you. But we are so glad that we have people that will watch us, even if we don't have the same opinion they do.
Yeah, true that.
Love that.
True that. From John Burns, he said, Shazam! I met him. I got a photo with him. Yes, John. Zachary Levi is Shazam. And unfortunately, we're probably not going to see any more Shazam movies. But Well, because it's now James Gunn and that other dude. I always forget his name.
Well, and the second movie didn't do.
And the second movie didn't do very well. Although I heard it did a lot better in on digital. It actually did really well. It was like number 2 on digital for like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're not going to see any more Shazam movies because it was taken over by, the DC is now being ran by James Gunn and that other guy, I forget his name. But the good Peter something. Saffron. Let's say Saffron.
It is. Yeah.
The good news is that Zachary Levi is very, very good. Like when I say good friends, I'm talking about go on vacation with your family friends with Peter Safran. And he has been seen in multiple social media posts hanging out with James Gunn after they took over DC. So maybe he's not Shazam anymore, but it's entirely possible we get him back in DC in some way. And I wouldn't put it past James Gunn hiring Zachary Levi, because guess who else is outspoken and right wing and a conservative?
His brother.
What?
His brother?
Well, yeah, his brother. Yeah, his brother is. So is I'm forgetting that Chris Pratt. And these are both people that have worked with Gunn for years and years and years. And when people tried to get Gunn to cancel Chris Pratt, he was like, F off, dude. We might disagree politically, but he's a good dude. So I think there's a chance we see Zachary Levi in a DC movie again. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. He'll probably just end up doing those Christian movies like Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah, God's Not Dead 19.
Yeah, which, by the way, I saw Reagan last night.
Mr. Reagan?
Quaid. No, I saw the movie.
Oh, Reagan. The movie. Oh, yeah.
With Dennis Quaid.
Was it good?
And Kevin Sorbo's in it. Yeah, it was good. I mean, I thought it was a different take on it, and it's really tough because I listened to Dennis Quaid quite a bit recently, and it's tough. I want to like slip into him being Reagan. I just want it to be Reagan, but I can't get past the fact that it's Dennis Quaid for some reason.
Isn't Dennis Quaid right wing?
He is. Yeah, he is. He's conservative. I wouldn't even say he's right wing. I would like right wing and left wing. Left wing people are like super progressive Marxist.
Yeah. They're so far left that anything right of that is right wing.
I try to say conservative and liberal for like people who are marginal on either side. I think he's more of a conservative, but the movie was very interesting. I thought it did a really good job of going through his life. I thought it did a really good job of like showcasing like how easy Marxism and communism is to like slip into as a society, which I thought was really interesting. And it's not lost on me what's happening right now. And the fact that a lot of the people on the left, I think they truly believe the reason why they like this Marxism, this socialism type of society, even though it's failed on almost every level, like communism has failed, Marxism has pretty much failed everywhere. The people leading us right now on the left think, well, we will do it better. And it's always this thought process that people have about trying to do something different. They're like, well, we're smarter. We know more. We'll do better. It
never works.
It never works because the power, when you have all power to the government, right, the people are always going to be left in a vacuum.
Right.
And you end up in a situation where all of your liberties are gone. If the government's in charge of everything, then you don't have any freedom.
Right.
It's just the way it works. Now, you can have a little bit of socialism. You can have some Social Security. You can have some programs. You can have some things. But if you want freedom to remain free, you got to keep the government out of things.
Right.
And I just thought it was really interesting because the movie Reagan, if you want to watch something that really goes through that, it really shows like his ideals towards that type of thing. And I thought it was cool. I was watching at the end of the movie. The credits came up. And when Reagan died, I was serving on the USS Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier. I've probably told this story before, but
yeah,
my boss is the person who gave the flag to Nancy Reagan. And so in the movie, they were showing the clips. They actually showed the scene where videotaped actual footage where he was giving her the flag. And I remember that clearly happening at the time.
That's right.
When I was, it was pretty cool to see it. And, it's neat to just kind of be a little small part of history like that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Michael Nemo, another Michael Nemo. Thank you, Michael. He says, I only voted 5 times in the past 2 weeks. Ugh.
Oh, Michael. Oh, come on. All right. Well, just vote 2.5 times for Harris and then 2.5 times for Trump, and it's all good.
Yeah. Archfrage says Brian just puts a mustache over his real one.
I like that.
Okay. Let's get on to the next topic here. I think Shane's going to like this one. Actually, I don't think Shane's going to like this one. But we're still going to talk about it. Shane, do you know who Mark Cuban is?
Yep, very well.
Mark Cuban became famous on Shark Tank, of which Shane and I actually applied for once.
We did, yeah.
We did. And we were denied because we were just too fat, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, or our idea wasn't good enough. One of the
But I want to think it's because we were just too fat.
That's fair.
And our idea was very good.
Most people victimize themselves.
Right. We were clearly fat shamed and not allowed to go on Shark Tank. But that's where I became aware of Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban I always consider him to be a pretty reasonable, logical guy. It seemed like he had okay ideas. He definitely had libertarian views at one point. And then he contracted a disease. Shane, can I tell you what disease that is?
Does it start with a T?
Yeah, it starts with a T. It's called Trump derangement syndrome.
Right.
Triennius derangement syndrome. He contracted TDS, and since then his viewpoints has shifted farther and farther and farther left, and he's said more and more insane, crazy, and honestly sort of self-defeating things in a very weird way because he is a capitalist, right? Like he's clearly made an insane amount of money in the capitalist system. So this is him on Bill O'Reilly.
Dana, love you.
And I can't wait for you to see this because you know who it's Dana White.
I watched this whole show, by the way.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Bill O'Reilly and Mark Cuban and a couple other people I don't
Chris
really
Cuomo.
know. Okay, Chris, that's like Cuomo.
Yep.
Chris Cuomo. Sorry. Ever since the COVID thing, we're just like, don't talk about my brother. Like,
I actually like watching Chris Cuomo.
Shut up, Chris. All right, here's the clip, and we'll talk about it afterwards. Cuomo.
Dana, love you. You're so wrong. Trump, inflation was up 25% over the Obama economy he inherited. Ask him about Yemen, where he decided not to take action and allowed 100,000 people to keep on dying in Yemen. Talk to him about...
Wait, I got to pause it. Did you see Cuomo and Bill O'Reilly right there?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Watch this again, you guys. Ready? Watch. Don't look at the screaming Rosie O'Donnell impersonator. Look at the guys to the left, okay?
To take action and allowed 100,000 people to keep on dying in Yemen.
He's like, are you going to let this go on? You're going to let this go on? You let him talk this nonsense? All right.
Talk to him about his tariffs. What worked with his tariffs? He had 4 years to make tariffs work with China. China kicked his ass. China took him to court, right? Because he didn't know how tariffs worked and it hurt the economy. The economy was rolling along and it got so hit by the tariffs that his appointment to the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, had to come back in and cut interest rates 3 times. And then we get to the real point of reckoning, the pandemic. And what does he do? He says, if we don't test people, the viruses didn't really happen.
Can I ask one quick question? I'm just going to interject. The screaming lesbian is making some false points, but more importantly, how in the world does a billionaire not have a better webcam?
I'm going to say it isn't always about money because sometimes I don't understand how to get the best stuff. He's a tech guy. He should have the best stuff.
Yeah, he's a tech billionaire.
So,
get a better webcam, bro. Get a Logitech 9080 Pro or something. Like they're like $120. You in the syllable 100, you made that money. It's crazy how Dana White is like fine. He's like his camera's completely clear, and you got this screaming Rosie O'Donnell impersonator where I can barely make out. That's like, what is it? There's 25 pixels on the screen. It's insane. Sorry.
He holds back on resources except for Vladimir Putin to keep people from getting healthy. That is not an accomplished president, Dana. He has not done anything. What he got, he inherited. You know what?
Right,
His
I
administration was the same as his.
I gotta jump in here. I gotta jump in here. You know, Bill O'Reilly, I know he's made some mistakes in his time, but he's still sort of a gangster when it comes to how informed he is, right?
He's very, I love listening to him because he just tells it like it is.
Right.
Like he only gives the facts. Like if you want to just like learn the facts about stuff, this is the guy you want to watch because, you know, he does have his own viewpoints, but he doesn't usually let that filter into, you know, the information he's giving. He very frequently gives compliments to the left side as well. So he's if you want to watch somebody who's just going to give you info, he's pretty good at it.
All right, here we go.
Personal wealth.
Some
he
course
inherited it.
I got to jump in with course corrections here. Number one, the real wages, which is really the only economic barometer for the folks, was up 8.2% in the 4 years Trump was president. 8.2 across the board for working Americans.
Fact. I like that he does that. He's done that for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Under Biden-Harris, it is around 1%. No COVID pandemic. They have failed. Number two, inflation didn't start because Putin and the Arabs did anything. Inflation started, and I don't know whether you know this, Mr. Cuban, but
Mr. Cuban sandwich, listen up. Listen what I'm saying, Mr. Cuban.
Biden signed in his first week in office at least 20 executive orders.
This is the stuff.
Making it harder for every fuel company to harvest their product, whether it be fracking or oil or anything. The fuel company said, holy you know what, we're going to get hosed because our prices to get the stuff out of the ground are quadrupling, so we're going to do it retail now. That's what ignited it, not Putin and not Saudi Arabia.
And I'm going to stop it there. That is facts. We were energy independent under Trump, or not completely, but we were getting there. We were more energy independent under Trump than any other time.
Well, it's not being independent. Yeah. Well, you know why? Well, go ahead.
What I'm saying is we were not counting on other countries for our energy. We were still buying from, but we didn't need them.
Right. We've never needed them. So let's be clear. We have more oil than most countries.
Right.
The reason why we don't use our own oil under a lot of, you know, most of the time was because we were saving our oil for later. Let those guys run out and we'll have oil when they don't.
Right.
That was the whole point of it. But it's, you know, under Biden, we did sell a lot of oil. We did utilize a lot of our oil. That's not the problem. The problem is what Biden did when he came into office is he took all of these laws and he basically made it harder for the oil companies to be successful. He canceled pipelines. Right. He made all kinds of things that made it harder for them and more expensive. Now, when your gas price goes up, people go, well, shit, it's going to cost me more to take my kids to school. It's going to take me more to do all this, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what you didn't think about? How much it's going to cost truckers now to get your food to the grocery store.
Yep.
And all of the other fuel requirements that are now so much more expensive that once you charge more at the pump, now they got to charge more at the grocery store.
Yeah, gas prices,
what causes it to happen
is that it trickles up. You know what I mean? Like gas prices is like is a huge reason why inflation happens or the prices of things go up, is because it costs more to send a package, to get the groceries to the grocery store, to take your kids to school, to do anything.
And then the piece that's missing here that they don't talk about is, especially during COVID, everybody stayed home. Nobody wanted to go back to work. So they had to raise wages in order to, you know, get people to leave their homes and come to work, which caused the price of everything to go up. And which means that they had to charge more for products in order to pay people more money to come to work. So that's another reason why. And all that happened under Biden-Harris, not under Trump. And Cuban, I don't know. He doesn't seem to, you know, he's been given he's in his own echo chamber. Let's be very clear.
Oh yeah.
Because here's a guy who supported Trump and liked Trump until I guess one of his friends got screwed in a deal with Trump over the college thing that Trump was doing years ago. And now apparently he hates Trump. So I don't know why Cuban is doing this, but he sounds like a fool with half of the things he says now, when he used to sound like a pretty intelligent guy.
Yeah, he used to sound intelligent. You know what? It's not even just us that believe that, because the AF Post reported recently today, Mark Cuban informed by Harris campaign to stop doing interviews representing her.
It's true, because he's not doing well, man. He's really making her look even worse, if that's possible.
Yeah, he is. Okay. Well, let us know what you guys think about this.
No?
Did your wages go up? Did your gas prices go up? What happened to you the last 6 years? Please give us a brief summary of how all of this affected you, because I do believe that as wages started to go back down to what they originally were, and people started to go back to work, none of those previous things that were put in place, those requirements that were put in place, changed, which just made it harder for regular people that where their lives weren't really changed by anything, just to live, just to get gas, to get groceries, pick up their kids, school supplies, like you name it. Like everything has increased to the point where, and I'm not joking, I went to a Carl's Jr. to buy lunch for my family and left without buying it because it was $20 for a cheeseburger combo, which is insane.
It was like, $20.
It was
really,
19 something for for the Western bacon double cheeseburger combo.
Yeah, the burgers are much more. Listen, in my entire lifetime, I mean, inflation's always gone up, obviously. You know, it goes up, but it goes up so that you don't always really feel it. You know, things go up very smallly, 50 cents here. But over the last 4 years, things have gone up exponentially, sometimes doubled. I got on the way home from when I was coming back on my trip, I stopped in Barstow and got an Arby's sandwich. It was $18.
Oh my God.
And that's because the fuel is so expensive to get out there that they got to charge more.
It's more
at the pump.
It's more expensive in these So if you're driving back from Vegas, same thing. Like you can get a Starbucks drink out here for like $7 or $8. But if you are driving back from Vegas and you stop at one of these three establishment towns that are just literally just there for people driving through, all of a sudden that same drink is like $16 and you're like, what? Why is it double? It's because it costs more to get them the resources they need to serve you your stupid drink.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
We got a super chat here if you want to.
Yeah, we got two super chats from John Burns. He says, for $2. Thank you, John. He says, Zachary Levy supported Kennedy. Why he joined Trump. Yes, I think what he's trying to say is Zachary Levy was a RFK supporter. And so when RFK joined Trump, he became a Trump supporter, which makes sense. And look, the Make America Healthy Again slogan is awesome.
Well, I think it was such a big deal for when Kennedy joined Trump. It really allowed a lot of people who just couldn't stand Trump's rhetoric. And the reason why, like people are like, okay, Trump's policies are fine, but I really hate the way he talks to people. But when Kennedy said, you know what, I'm not going to run for president, I'm going to support this guy, it really gave people who a lot of thought were like, you know what, I guess maybe I'm going to vote for Trump too now. Yep. So it was hugely helpful for him.
And recently, as in I think it was yesterday, today, Elon tweeted at Ron Paul, we would like to have a conversation about joining the Department of what's it called? The Department of Government Efficiency.
Oh yeah.
And Ron Paul was like, let's have that conversation. And the internet blew up because there's a lot of Ron Paul supporters that like, okay, so I'm sorry, you're getting RFK, Elon Musk, and Ron Paul.
Well, this is the party. Let's be fair. If you're a libertarian right now, what do libertarians believe in? They believe in freedom, more freedom. I mean, there's a lot of things libertarians believe in, but the number one thing is liberty. Now, unfortunately, Kamala Harris and her party are kind of pushing less liberty, right? Mm-hmm. So at least that's what we seem to be feeling. And from Trump's side, it feels like, I mean, this is just very, looking at this from a very middle of the road way, it feels like the left is taking away some of our liberty. When you look at free speech on Twitter, the fact that they, trying to shut down people from free speech and things like that.
They're trying to censor, manipulate the narrative.
Some information is misinformation and it needs to be stopped, and then you've got the Trump side, which is just feels like it's more for freedom. So if you're a libertarian and you're not voting for Trump, and you're voting for Harris, I would be like, well, I don't understand why you would do that. It's kind of against your principles anyways. So, yeah.
First responder here, and I haven't seen his chat before, so thank you for chatting for the first time. If I'm wrong, let me know. He said, Kennedy is still on the ballot in 42 states, and that's true, and that's a problem because they purposely left his name on the ballot, even though they went through the paperwork months ago to have him removed. They went out of their way to deny his removal request, the guy actually running, and they went out of their way to make sure that he was on the ballot because they know that it's going to confuse people.
Well, and there's that, but there's also, there is kind of a legitimate argument. And the legitimate argument is that, and it did happen late. When he decided this to happen, it was late. A lot of the ballots had already been created. So that was a little bit of a problem, was getting him off the ballot was not going to be easy in a lot of states. And he didn't really care. If you weren't in a swing state, he didn't care. In fact, he said he wants to stay on in California. So, because he does split the vote for Trump, unfortunately. And the Democrats know it. So, of course, they're going to lean on making sure he doesn't get off the ballot because they want to win. Yeah.
Right. Michael Nemo says, for $5, Trump derangement is a thing, but Kamala derangement is also a thing. More so than hating Biden, I feel. No? Yeah, I think people, it's weird. Like, I never hated, I don't hate Biden. I sort of feel sorry for him. And yeah, I don't like a lot of his policies, but like Biden was less he was less stupid and more becoming senile. It didn't feel like he was the one doing malicious things, and maybe I'm just giving the old man credit because he's old. But
yeah, and you're thinking like proximity bias, like you have recency bias with this because when there's a lot of, remember the Let's Go Brandon? Yeah, there was definitely people who had Biden derangement syndrome.
Right.
But the reason they had Biden derangement syndrome is because Biden was doing shit to hurt him. Right. Biden was making decisions to hurt our country. Now, the thing about Trump derangement syndrome is the reason that people don't like Trump isn't because of the types of rules he sets in place or his policies. It's because of the way he speaks. That's why they hate him. Mm-hmm. And so that's where the Trump derangement syndrome comes from. And whereas like Kamala Harris, I don't know if anybody hates her. Maybe some people, of course, you're always going to have some people who hate her. But she's kind of shown herself to be too incapable.
Right.
Of being hated. And she really hasn't said anything specifically like Biden called everybody garbage that was a Trump supporter. And maybe he's old and maybe he misspoke, but it came out of his mouth and it's probably how he felt at the moment when he said it. So I get why people would really hate him. But I don't think that people necessarily hate Kamala Harris in the same way, because Kamala Harris hasn't really done anything to make people hate her. She just has really bad policies, really bad ideas, and things that are probably going to hurt our country. So I wouldn't say the TDS is on the same level, but you're right. There's always some fraction of people who've convinced themselves to hate somebody simply because, and I just don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I don't understand why anyone would, the only hate I think I would ever feel for someone is if they in some way meant harm to my children. Right. I feel more sorry for people that are low information or don't have all the information. Also, as long as you're willing to learn and communicate and possibly disagree when you can disagree when there isn't enough information. I can be friends with someone who disagrees with me because we don't have enough information to make a determining, an objective opinion on something. And, and maybe that person has more information, maybe they have less, or maybe I have less information. And so I can have that conversation and still be buds with someone, and we can agree on some things and other things. I don't understand the concept of hey, we're all in these 3 tribes or 2 tribes, and we all have to agree with this exact same principles, or we can't be friends. I gotta be honest, man. I see some of these people on Twitter that are right wing, and they're like really like hyper religious right wing, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not with you on that, bud. Like I saw someone tweeted recently an ad, a Kamala Harris ad. It was like an anti-abortion, anti-pro-life abortion ad or whatever. And it showed, it basically was a woman, and she was having a coitus with a man, but she's fully clothed, right? Or not fully clothed, but she has like a top on. Well, the person that tweeted the video, they blurred the top portion of this woman in the ad. And they say Kamala Harris is sharing pornographic ads in favor of abortion. And I'm like, I saw that ad already, bro, and it's not pornographic. Like they were purposely hiding something for the intent to piss off, their tribe.
Yeah, and you're gonna have it on both sides.
And it's gonna happen on both sides. And here's the deal: we don't have to agree to be friends. I don't think Shane and I are brothers. Shane's my best friend. We are connected at the hip. We work together. We talk on the phone all the time. We are as close as two bros can be. Shane and I don't agree on everything. Oh no! Oh, we don't.
What?
Like when it comes to religion, like I'm more religious than you, right? You think that space aliens from another dimension made the planet. I think it was probably God. We don't agree on stuff, but you know what? This is crazy. The things we don't agree on in no way separates us. In fact, hearing his thoughts and opinions make me closer to Shane. I get to know Shane more and vice versa. And you know what? I gotta say, over the last 20 years of working with Shane, some of my opinions and thoughts have adjusted because he had more information on the topic.
And vice versa.
And that's okay. It's okay.
But see, not a lot. Yeah, a lot of people aren't like that because the problem is politics are becoming the new religion, right? People are holding on to politics as if it's their church, and you all know how religion can really get a hold of you and make you, think that you're maybe in a little bit of a cult, so you're now in the cult of politics.
What's that?
Right?
that I always forget that comedian that was like, if you drove your horse into the lake to get baptized, you're probably in a cult.
Right. That's funny. Yeah. So, you got a lot of people, and I think this is a really great thing that, that was brought up here by Michael Nemo is, you're probably seeing a lot of the Kamala Harris derangement syndrome if you're kind of on a left side echo chamber, you're probably seeing a lot of that because, we see a lot of the Trump derangement syndrome people. So I'm sure they see probably, I wish there was a way to see it all, and I just can't find any way on social media to get access to both groups. So,
well, I have access. I have two Twitters. One is I have three technically if you can count the podcast, but two where my personal one is everything is definitely cued into my, sort of echo chamber.
Yeah.
And I get that. But then I have a third one. So once my personal Twitter was outed and we decided to have multiple Twitters, I had to create another Twitter. And I created a Twitter where it's let's say it's the perfect Kamala Harris voter.
That's a good idea. Yeah, to actually cultivate someone who gets the other side's opinion. Yeah,
right,
that's a good idea.
And I often I refuse to upvote posts I see that follow the conservative ideology, and I only upvote or post from the left or the liberal ideology that I actually agree with. And so that account has cultivated a little bit of a left-wing bias. And it's interesting. I have found that not all the left-wing people out there are absolutely nuts.
Of course.
In fact, I get a lot of tweets by Cenk Uygur and Anna Kasparian because even though I disagree with probably 85% of what their life's beliefs are, they're pretty fair with their reporting, and they're pretty even though I disagree with everything they're saying, they will dunk on the left and as well as the right. And I think they're sort of coming around, which is weird, to like a more reasonable, logical thing. Maybe it's because they're getting older. I'm not sure. But that, for some reason, that account gets a lot of their posts, a lot of the Young Turk stuff.
Okay.
And I think it's important to see both sides. So I will log in and look at the notifications for each account just to see, what people are saying about Peanut the squirrel, or whatever.
No, it's hard. I want to understand. It's very hard to understand why so many people have Kamala Harris signs in their yards, and I just, sometimes I want to go up and be like, why are you voting for Kamala Harris? And the reason I say that is because I haven't seen anything, and forget ideology, forget which side you're on. If I just listen to her talk about what it is that she's going to do as president, all I'm hearing is it's going to be more of what we just had the last 4 years.
Right.
That's what I feel like I'm hearing. I haven't seen anything different. She's kind of parroted some of Donald Trump's positions, but I don't really trust that she's going to do them. So I just don't know how, like, a reasonable person says, you know what, I want to vote for Harris, and this is why. And Michael Nemo, if you're voting for Kamala Harris, when we go into the member section, I would really like you to give us like a compelling reason why you're voting for her, because I just want to understand, and I understand that we're all different. We have different brains and we have different ways to getting things. How much of this is, God, I just hate that Donald Trump guy, and how much of it is, I really think Kamala Harris can make our country better? I'm curious to hear about that.
Yeah, so am I. We also got a super chat from John Burns. Star Wars 1977, $3. Today's ticket, $25.
Yeah, and you probably didn't feel the cost of tickets as it was going up until a few years ago, right? Like it just kind of went up a little bit, just like our wages did, little bit. And then all of a sudden, bam,
you want to see something
from $16 to $25.
Yeah. You guys want to see something wild? I posted this actually today, which is surprising that you brought that up. This was in a newspaper article in 1923, 100 years ago. Someone dreamed the other night that he was living in the year 2023 and people were going on strike because they only got $125 a day while the price of eggs had gone up to $10 a dozen.
Wait, is that fake?
No, it's not. That's a newspaper clipping from 1923. It was the end of a longer story.
Well, they did pretty darn good job, because I think eggs are pretty expensive right now. They're not $10.
I don't know if they're $10 a dozen, but it's. But you know what? That $125 a day thing is pretty accurate for a lot of people.
Well, they understood inflation, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did. Okay. Oh, we got more super chats. Jeremy Snyder, we haven't seen you for a while, man. Speaking of someone I don't normally agree with on everything, but we're good friends. Jeremy Snyder, my Jer Bear. He says, hello, everyone. Missed you all the last few weeks. Life has been real.
Amen, brother.
Good to see you, man. I'm glad you're here.
I got to tell you, Jeremy, I was driving on I-70 last week, and I went through 2 different snowstorms, and I thought about you, and I'm like, I don't know how he does this shit.
This poor bastard. Jeremy is a long road trucker. You know what they need to make they have reality shows about ice road truckers and crabbers. I want to see like just the normal reality show about normal domestic truckers.
All right, I'd be down.
Okay, John Burns. He said Jeff's Farnworth. If your family tree doesn't branch, you're probably a product of incest, I guess.
That would suck.
Yep. Thank you, John. And Michael Nemo, if we had a 7-party system, Kamala wouldn't be in my top 6 slots.
God, that might be the funniest thing I've heard today.
Oh, we need to screenshot that, bro.
That's a great one, Michael. That is worthy super chat.
Oh my God. Mark said $3 for 6 eggs at Publix last week. Oh my God.
Okay.
That's pretty close then.
That's pretty well, yeah, for a dozen.
Right.
Ooh.
So it's gonna end up being so I've gotten a dozen eggs. The most I paid was about like a year and a half ago. I think I paid like $8 for a dozen eggs.
Depends on if you get those organic ones or they're pretty flexible in price.
Yeah, it depends on where you're at too. Like Stater Brothers is gonna be a lot more expensive than Costco,
We should buy chickens.
100%.
Get our own eggs.
You want to hear something funny? Like literally, like a couple years ago, I was like, "How can I legally own chickens?"
Not where you live. You can't.
Where I live, it has to be like, I think it's like 50 feet in all directions from any other neighbor. And I don't think I have 50 feet in all directions.
Yeah.
It's like I would have to have a really big yard, and they would basically be in like the center of the yard because I don't have 50 feet away from human establishments.
Yeah,
and
we can't even have them in town where we're at.
That's crazy. I can do it, but it would be sus. And if my neighbors complain, they're probably going bye-bye.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, DS says basement chickens. There you go. Basement chickens. All right, let's get on to the next thing here. Let's talk about, speaking of RFK, I want to talk about RFK. And RFK was on Geraldo Rivera. What happened to Geraldo? Wasn't he a pretty reasonable guy back in the day? Wait, I'm sorry. Let me start recording. Geraldo Rivera, I'm sorry. Go ahead. What are you going to say about Geraldo?
No, he was actually on Fox News. He's liberal. And he's pretty reasonable, but he just does not like Trump. So that's, but he's generally a pretty reasonable guy.
Really? Okay.
I don't think he likes Harris, but he don't like Trump.
Didn't he date Harris or something?
Oh, I don't know. I think Geraldo's actually not going to vote in this election. I think I heard that.
He had some kind of connection to Harris, and I forgot what that was.
No.
All right. Well, anyways, here it is.
You and the president discussed how you will honor the Constitution. How can you trust President Trump to honor the Constitution when he was a sore loser last time and defied the Constitution?
I'm sorry, you're not hearing it?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. Let me fix that. I apologize. You see it though?
On our little screen here.
Oh, okay.
Not on the preview.
Okay, I'll just stop sharing here. I'll fix it. 1 second.
Thanks. Yeah, Brian set this up so I can actually hear what's going on too now, which is very nice.
Yeah, man. It's what I do, bro. It's what I do.
It is what you do.
It feels like it's all I do sometimes, but it's what I do.
Sorry.
It's all right, man. Oh, here we go.
Al Capone's vault broken him. DS's comment. I watched that Al Capone's vault when I'm telling you, that was such big news when Geraldo Rivera found Al Capone's vault and was going to open it for the first time. We expected to find his body.
Oh, yeah. There was nothing in there?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to reset this clip up because, I remember that. There was nothing in there. He's like, his mustache was quivering. All right. Let's talk about, we're going to go back in this. Let's talk about RFK and Geraldo. Can you say his name? I can't say his name.
Geraldo Rivera.
Geraldo Rivera. Still not saying it right. Something's wrong with my mind. Anyways, this is a pretty cool clip, and let's check it out.
You and the president discussed how you will honor the Constitution. How can you trust President Trump to honor the Constitution when he was a sore loser last time and defied the Constitution, defied the constitutional succession, and attempted to basically stay in power despite the fact that he had lost the election? So how can you, is this the person you're making common cause to seek the
I'm going to stop in there real quick. They keep parroting this. He tried to stay in power despite losing the election, right? This constant parroting of that fact is so silly to me because it's now proven a few years later that there were serious problems with the election, or serious problems with the election integrity, I should say, that are now being brought up, are now being talked about, but no one else, for some reason, no one. It's so hard to vocalize this, but it's a very odd situation we have where something bad happens 3 years ago. Everyone tells you you're crazy. Don't talk about that. You're banned from all platforms for saying anything about the election or vaccine or whatever. And then like a few years later, we find out that it's all true and it all happened. But now we're so beyond the point of being able to do anything about it, it doesn't matter anymore.
There's a lot of truth to what you're saying, but in other situations, when it comes to this, so yes, Trump say some things that were very, I don't think he handled it correctly. So, and, when he told his vice president, do not certify the election, that's when I think people felt like he went overbound. It was one thing to have everybody come on January 6th and protest. I mean, they should protest. He felt like he got cheated, but he was trying to get Georgia to find him votes. He uses the wrong words all the time. Mm-hmm. He uses the wrong language instead of, double check those votes. I mean, I've got to have 20,000 in there. He tells the Georgia governor, get me 20,000 votes. Like, you kind of know what he's thinking, but he says it wrong.
Right.
And he tells Mike Pence, don't certify the election. You have the ability to not certify. You can make the choice. Nobody likes any of that he said.
Right.
Nobody likes it because he had at least none of it's come out, any actual evidence, even though people may have cheated on a large scale. There's no actual physical evidence that's been brought forward to the American people on it.
Right.
And Donald Trump doesn't like to lose, guys. He doesn't. But I do think he's learned a lot since that happened. And I think he understands the mistakes that he made in that situation. But did he really feel cheated? Yeah. So Geraldo Rivera doesn't like Trump because of this. He was supporting Trump, I think, before this happened. He doesn't like him because he now thinks, well, what happens? Will he not leave? And so Trump did this. If he comes back in, people are like, well, he's not going to want to leave power, right? He didn't want to leave power last time because he felt like he got cheated. He just didn't handle it properly. So now everything, all the rhetoric and everything, but most people are never going to hear what Trump says because they don't care. They're angry. They hate him now. So they're not going to listen to him. You can tell he's learned his lesson. Right. This is not a guy who's going to try to run for 4 years and then find a way to continue to be, our next dictator. It's just not going to happen. But that's what a lot of people believe because that's what the left-wing media has told them.
That's what the machine is telling you. Right.
Right. And unfortunately, Geraldo, generally pretty decent guy, definitely leans to the left. I think he just can't get past this thing with Trump.
Let's see what RFK says about it.
Constitutional nirvana. I have deep doubts about that.
Like I said,
I lost that again.
I disagree.
You lost the audio again?
Yep. But now you're not speaking double, so that's good.
What? All right.
Yeah, I'm making this hard for you.
Yeah, it's okay. Ready? Here we go.
Yeah.
Agree with President Trump on many things that he did during the last administration. He today has a heightened sensitivity towards censorship, towards the weaponization of the federal agencies against our democracy, to the emerging power of these totalitarian systems and totalitarian technologies, AI, facial recognition technology, low-level satellites that can look at every square inch of our country every day, all these other technologies that give totalitarian systems capacities they've never had before to monitor and control every aspect of our lives. He's sensitized to those. And I think, what happened at the end of that election, there was a peaceful transition of power. Peaceful transitions of power are a critical part of our democracy. And I disagree with a lot of things that happened there. I think the attacks on our Constitution over the last 4 years have eclipsed anything that happened on January 4th. I think the censorship is the largest threat to American democracy today.
Fair enough.
All right. So what he said there was, censorship is a bigger threat to our democracy than whatever happened during that transitionary period or whatever happened on January 6th. And I agree with him. I completely agree. And I think that a lot of people are not, how do I explain this? People are not giving enough credit, I guess. Maybe it's a low information thing, right? Like, they're not giving credit to the fact that the media has an agenda. And their agenda is to install the people in power that make it better for them, their business, the war machine, the people that own their company, that own their news outlet, to keep making money and keep fleecing the American people. And it's very difficult for a company to be biased, to not be biased, against a president like, or a nominee like RFK, like Trump, who wants to get rid of, let's say, ads, big pharma ads on television, when that is a big reason that's a big portion of big pharma's influence on the American people are because of their billions and billions of dollars that they spend on ads on media networks. Would a news company, would a news organization, would a journalist, would Fox or CNN allow a journalist to talk poorly about, say, a pharmaceutical company that already gave them $2 billion that quarter in ad revenue?
No, of course not.
Of course not.
Well, that's part of the problem. So,
and I didn't vocalize that correctly because I was looking at multiple screens and I was a little distracted. But
no, it's part of the problem, what you're saying. Okay, so what I really like what RFK Jr. says here, because he's basically saying, like, no matter what you think Trump did that was bad, he eventually did. He did transition. When they told him you're out, you lost, and he went through all of his resources. He didn't cling to his chair screaming, "I'm not leaving. You can't take me out." He didn't. Mm-hmm. He said, "Okay, I'm no longer the president." Now, what RFK Jr. is saying here is that all the things that have happened in the previous 4 years, all the liberties that are being stripped away from people, and all the things that are happening in his mind is worse than where he sees our country going is worse than what Trump did that day. And if you vote for Kamala Harris to be 4 more years, you're getting essentially 4 more years. Whoever was controlling Biden will be controlling Harris. Right. It's going to be the same, if not more of the same thing. And if you want the same 4 years you've had the last 4 years, then congratulations, vote for her. But I don't want the same 4 years. I want to go back to when I was able to pay for my groceries and comfortably live.
Yeah, I would like that. That sounds great. Can we go back to that?
Please.
Can we go back to a time where, like, it made sense to operate a business? Because right now, like, it really doesn't make sense to operate a business. It makes more sense to join whatever gatekeeping, giant corporation is out there that is in charge of the industry that I might be talented in. It's impossible to get ahead when you have to face all these loopholes, when you have to face all these bumps in the road, all these huge hurdles and these things that are put in place for the sole purpose of increasing a corporation's hold on the economy, increasing, the corporate structure in favor of the bigger guy and not the smaller guy, not the citizen, not the people actually having to buy groceries.
Well, and remember, we wouldn't have this problem if politicians weren't so worried about staying in power that they want to give the corporations whatever they want, so that way they can spend the money that they need to become elected. It's a disgusting system. Unfortunately, nothing we can do about it. It's the one we live in. But yeah,
agreed. All right, we have one more clip here, and this is
let's do a super chat from Christy's Corner for $4.99.
Oh, I didn't see it. Thank you.
I can barely hear now, but writing instead of driving. So here's a $5. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Christy.
it. Thank you. Thanks for listening.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. We got one more clip, and this is the last clip before we go to the members section. So if you are not a member, I'm pretty sure most of you are by now, because so many people gave away so many memberships.
So many members. Everybody should be in the members section today.
If you are a member, then we're going to join. We're going to talk about one more clip, then we're going to head to the members section. Shane, let me just set that up real quick if you want to talk.
Okay. Let's see here. Hillary conceded in 2016. She did concede in 2016. And then she went on to say how he wasn't fit to be president, or he wasn't, or something to the effect of she walked back. She did concede officially, but then she shit talked Trump the whole time, saying that, he was an illegitimate president. So I don't know.
Yeah, she conceded, but she also said he was illegitimate the entire time.
Right. And Chappie says, I'm a member now. I thought you were a member before, Chappie.
Well, now you're a member for sure. Okay. I got that all set up. All right. So what's going to happen is if you want to be a member and you somehow didn't get one of the memberships people were handing out like candy, then all you got to do is hit that little join button below. And after the stream's over, after this last story, it's going to auto direct you. And if for some reason it doesn't auto direct you, then you'll be able to find it. It's not very hard. All right. This next story is actually there's only one last story. Do you want to talk about the Jake Paul thing, or you want to talk about the Vance Rogan vax thing?
There's only one story left. Okay. Well, let me just say what I would say about Jake Paul.
Okay.
His video is one of the most convincing videos of why you should vote for Trump.
Okay, well then we have to do both. Then we have to do both.
Well, I'm just saying, if you watch it, I have no. How do I put this? I really respect his game, and that's great. He's been very successful, but I genuinely don't respect him as a human being. I just don't really give a shit. He makes a lot of really great points on why you should vote for Trump.
So we gotta watch.
And I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah,
it's a long video though.
It's a long video, so I'll tell you how to do this. I will put the link to that video in the description of this live stream, and I think that maybe you guys should go watch it on your own because it is pretty long. It's long. It's too long for us to probably go through.
I like how in the beginning he talks about being nervous and scared to make the video because he he's the guy's taking a chance here by doing this. And he's taking a risk because he's got a whole bunch of people who watch his videos and probably half of them don't want to support Trump. And he's afraid that's going to hurt him. And it's hard for people to do. So mad respect for him actually doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys know me. I don't like Jake Paul, but I have respect for standing up like that. That's good. Good for him. All right. So the last story of the day we're going to talk about. So JD Vance went on Joe Rogan. Interesting enough, this was supposed to be Kamala Harris's spot, but Kamala Harris said, hey, listen, Joe, I'm going to need you to come out to Washington, and we're only going to do 45 minutes. And Joe was like, no, we're not doing that.
He's like, it works better from where I'm at.
Yeah. So she wanted him to come out to Washington, and she only was going to give him an hour. And he respectfully declined and said, look, I just want to have a conversation. I'm not trying to do gotcha or whatever. I just want to have a conversation. But the way that works is that you come into my studio and we sit down for a couple hours and we shoot the shit.
And he's not going to gotcha you, but he is going to expect to have a honest conversation.
Right.
About whatever it is that you end up talking about. And the problem with Kamala Harris is she's probably afraid, or people, if she does have an honest conversation, it's going to make her look worse. So, unfortunately.
And it probably would. Yeah. She can't do 3 hours on Joe Rogan. That's insane. She just can't do it. It'll ruin her political future. Even if we win or lose, she still has a political future. And that would be really bad for her. So, what happened was he declined, and JD Vance was like, I'll do it. And he jumped in that slot, and it was about 2.5 hours. I think it was like 3 hours.
No, it was 3. It was over 3.
Was it 3?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought was it? Okay.
It's 3+. Yep.
Oh, that's cool. And it was okay. There was a lot of stuff. Look, JD Vance is a very well-spoken guy. They had a conversation. He just seemed like that one guy across the street that always puts his trash cans out on time. Pretty reasonable person to talk to. Most of the stuff he went through, we're not going to go through all this. We're just going to go through one very particular clip. It's only a couple minutes. But I did want to say that the entire interview was pretty good. I thought if you didn't like JD Vance before and you watch this, you're gonna probably like the guy. At the very least, you're going to know that he's not a weird, crazy communist or whatever people are saying. He's a pretty normal guy.
Reasonable fellow.
Very reasonable, well-spoken. But this clip was the most interesting to me.
With exemption
You can hear it, right, Shane? Okay.
Of pharmaceutical companies being responsible for injuries from
injury
vaccines.
from the vax was crazy.
It's crazy because you just empower these people that have lied forever. Yeah, it does still exist.
And it still exists, and that is totally insane. And I took the vax, and I haven't been boosted or anything, but the moment where I really started to get red pilled on the whole vax thing was the sickest that I've been in the last 15 years by far was when I took the vaccine. And I've had COVID at this point 5 times. I was in bed for 2 days. My heart was racing. I was like, the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about that, even, no like serious injury, but even the fact that we're not even allowed to talk about the fact that I was as sick as I've ever been for 2 days, and the worst COVID experience I had was like a sinus infection. I'm not really willing to trade that. And you don't even, everybody that I know, or a lot of people I know, they talk about the second shot that they got of the vaccine that made them really, really sick. Well, that's a side effect, and not a side effect that we even talk about enough in this country.
I'm going to cut it off there really quick because I don't want to get copyright claimed, and I just want to talk about that point before we go to the rest of it. Sorry. A vaccine, and Chase, you guys don't know how it works. A vaccine is a little bit of the disease is given to you, and basically it tells your body, it gives your body a blueprint on how to create antibodies to deal with this disease, which means you're going to feel the symptoms of that disease. So I don't believe that anyone ever said you're not going to get sick when you take the vaccine. No, I mean, the vaccine, it might make you sick, but it's supposed to protect you from getting sick in the future. I have been a public critic of this particular vaccine. Not all vaccines, but this particular vaccine. I didn't get the vaccine, but Shane did get the vaccine. So we have a perfect system. We have a perfect panel here to talk about this because I'm what you would call pure blood in the sense that I didn't get any vaccines or boosters. I completely avoided it.
And I got 2 shots.
And Shane got 2 shots. So Shane, did the vaccine make you sick?
It didn't. I didn't notice any difference, any change. I mean, I'm hoping there's like no long-term problem with me
You're
as a
hoping
result of it.
that you're not going to end up with like epoxy in your veins for some odd reason.
I mean, so far everything's been pretty normal. I mean, but at the same time, I've had so many different weird vaccines that most people like anthrax and all kinds of stuff because I was in the military. So I really wasn't too worried about it.
Your body's a well-oiled machine. It's like,
right. And I'm older and I'm over.
Make the antibodies.
Well, and the reason I got the vaccine was because I'm older and I'm overweight.
Right.
And so I didn't want to, and my sister ended up in the hospital and she almost died.
Right.
She was overweight and she's younger than I am, but
right.
You're in
that range of people that really should get it. Like, should you get it if you're a 20-year-old athlete? No.
No, you shouldn't get it. And I tried to, and I told my kids, I don't think you guys need it. So, but me and my wife got it.
Yeah, my kids got COVID, and literally, like we were on the way to a wedding. They got COVID. They got sick. I started to feel sick. My wife started feeling sick. We're all stuck in this little car together, right? We ended up leaving and going home. We're like, this is not working out. And we go home. The next day, they're back to normal. They're like, can we get something to eat? Can we go to Chick-fil-A? And they're playing video games. And I'm like, I'm just dying.
Right.
Like, they got COVID, and within like 24 hours, they were fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, kids shouldn't have gotten, like, kids that were forced to get that vaccine. I believe that was gnarly that they were forcing kids to get that. And when you say forcing, they go, no one forced them. Like, yeah, but they can't go to school if they don't get it.
That didn't happen where I'm at. It was under a certain age. There was no mandatory vaccinations to go to school, at least for my kids.
Yeah. High school, right?
So no, it was grade school. So we didn't. Yeah. I don't believe, and I don't know where they mandated vaccines for kids. I don't believe they did, unless I'm missing it somewhere. Well, but I know for jobs, like for certain jobs, you had to have it. I don't think
especially government jobs and in the military.
The military. Well, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for that in the military because I went through the experience and listen, I didn't want the anthrax vaccination. I don't think I even needed it. I wasn't around it.
Right.
But when that shit was being sent to like politicians and stuff, remember when anthrax was going through the mail? We all got a vaccination for it. So, the problem is that when these adverse reactions occur, and there are times, all vaccinations, there are some percentage of complications with every vaccination. Some people are going to die from getting a vaccination. It's a very small percentage, but it's going to happen. And these drug companies have always enjoyed having basically not being held at fault. No, they can't be sued if somebody dies from one of their vaccines.
And that's insane.
It's a great idea if you're trying to roll out an affordable medicine for everybody, and it's such a large, and you tell people, look, it's a very large, small percentage of people are going to be harmed by this. Some people can be, just be advised. But on the whole, look, you're not going to get smallpox. You're not going to die young.
Right.
You're not, all these things are going to happen. So being aware of it, and it should have made the vaccines cheap. Now, if they're not going to be sued, right, then there should have been some sort of agreement where medication was less expensive for people, but they're charging as much as they can. Well, if they're going to charge that much and somebody is wrongfully dies as a result of a vaccine or is wrongfully harmed, then that company should take care of that person or that person's family for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, if it's just a tiny percentage of people, then it shouldn't be a problem for you to take care of that person when they're experiencing extreme adverse effects. But instead, they're like, no, you signed the contract, we have nothing to do with it.
Right,
off, dude. Especially on
that
a
allows
vaccine
them
that was just pushed out in mere months.
Well, and that's what allows them to take shortcuts to do things that are inappropriate because there's no repercussion. So whether or not using aluminum in vaccines or using things that may not be fully, completely safe, there's nothing financially saying, look, we better be careful because we want as few people as possible be harmed, so we don't have to suffer the consequences.
One thing I didn't like that Trump did was Operation Warp Speed. I'm like, yo, slow down.
I mean, that's not fair though, because at the time everybody was scared, bro. Like, here's the one thing I'm not going to do with this vaccine, with the COVID. I'm not going to forget. Okay. And then the first 3 months of COVID going around, we all thought most of the world was going to die. Okay. We all thought there was going to be millions and millions and millions of people killed by this thing. Okay. And everything that Trump did in the beginning was to try to protect people as fast as possible.
Right. And I get that. So I'm not, maybe it's not his fault, but it's certainly the fault of the media and whatever dark system is behind all this stuff that overblown the influenza strain to an extreme condition where it required dystopian levels of control.
Bro, they didn't know, bro. The problem, nobody knew. It's not fair. It's not fair to blame. It's really not fair to blame anybody for the beginning of this thing. Nobody fucking knew what was going to happen.
So what happened?
COVID came out.
What about 6 months after that?
Yes. Okay. So once we kind of saw what was going on, and once we realized the rates of death, who was dying, smart decisions should have been made. But what happened instead was it became, well, we can't back up Trump on anything he's saying.
Right.
Now it became a political issue. And all of a sudden, instead of saying, this is what the numbers are telling us, this is how we should vaccinate people, this is how we should treat people, this is how far apart we should be, this is how we should wear masks, this is how kids should go to school. All of these things didn't happen from a place of sanity and reasonableness, because if any of those sane or reasonable things were happening as a result of Trump doing it, then the other side was absolutely against it at all costs.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Joe Rogan's eating horse paste.
Well,
Donald Trump said to inject your veins with bleach. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
Which is dumb because it's not what if I watched when they said those things, it's not what they were saying. The ivermectin and the bleach thing.
Ivermectin is not just for there's a human drug called ivermectin. There's also a drug that's very similar for reptiles and equines, aka horses and dogs, for mange. That a lot of drugs cross species, with different versions of that drug. It's
right, but here's the most important thing. Here's where shit went wrong. The moment Trump got elected, an entire group of people on the left said, we're going to do everything we can to ruin his presidency and make sure he doesn't get elected again.
Right.
And so they developed the Russia hoax. They did all of these things. They went against everything that he tried to accomplish to wreck it. And then when COVID happened, they saw an excellent opportunity to completely overturn his election by going against everything that happened. And when Biden took office, guess what happened? Well, you can't suddenly do everything Trump wanted to do now. Right. They did use his vaccine.
You got to slow roll it, right?
But they still couldn't. So they kept things on lockdown. They took away liberties. Right. They took away freedoms. People lost their jobs, and now all of a sudden we end up with a bunch of inflation. It's just all bad because we didn't have anybody reasonable. But to be fair, Everybody was scared and terrified in the first 3 months.
That's
we
true.
were all afraid to get it. And
so Trump was just reacting to what
everybody, exactly.
everyone fear.
We can never forget that.
Try and do the right thing. That makes sense. But you're right, I guess. So there was more nuance, but definitely we did not do well after we figured it out.
Yeah, 100%. We totally failed. Yeah, totally failed once we got it figured out.
Okay, let's finish this clip. It's on, and then we're gonna wrap it up.
No, it's also, again, we're talking about companies that have a long history of lying and being forced to pay criminal fines, and then we're giving them this exemption from being responsible for any of the side effects.
Yeah, and who do you think those big pharma companies donate to politically in 2024? I'll give you a big fat guess.
Probably Kamala Harris.
Bias.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it there. There's more to that. I suggest you go watch the full Joe Rogan, JD Vance interview if you haven't watched it already.
Yeah, it's informative.
It's free. It's on YouTube. It's very easy to listen to. It's also on X. It's everywhere. So
make up your own mind.
Make up your own mind. Go watch it. Make up your own mind. I thought JD Vance and Joe Rogan got along swimmingly. They had a lot of good points. And I really enjoyed it. Ultimately, I watched it like 1.5 times. I was going to watch it. I was going to listen to it again when I was trying to exercise, and I just got distracted with Jeremy Johns, actually. All right, so we're going to go to the members section. If you have watched this entire stream and you're here with us, you're supporting us, we really appreciate it. I would love for you to continue with us in the members section. If you're not a member for some reason, hit that join button, bottom left or wherever it's at, and come on in. That's where we get to talk to you. We get to actually interact with you guys. Not just super chats, but we interact with you in every way, and we talk more, in depth more personally and about our lives, and I take my pants off. But don't worry, you can't see that part. It's okay.
Well, I'm going to step away while Brian switches over, but I do want to say thank you so much. We love you, and definitely come back and see us next week if you don't make it to the member section, and give us your opinion. Tell us what you think. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe even, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
See you in the member section. Wrong button. Damn it.
Nothing is impossible. Just do it. Do it. Just do it. Yes, you can.